Hi, I'm Tamami Komatsu, and I'm a postdoc researcher at the Politecnico di Milano, and I'm really happy to share with you the results that came out of task 2.2. And the main objectives of our task was to analyze the current methodologies to develop social innovation at the EU level and to select and make accessible the most effective ones, particularly for the uses of the competence centers for seed, and then to provide input on for the co-design workshops and tasks that are building seeds competence centers based on a review of existing cases. Our work links naturally with the pilots, so with the co-design of the competence centers, but also with the digital toolbox for the learning repository that was part of task 2.5 and for work package 3's capacity building. And I'll first begin by presenting you the framework that we developed for social innovation policy development and the different tools, stages, and substages as well. And then we'll go on to tell you about the different cases that we analyzed. So our starting premise for the task together was, how could we support managing authorities develop and implement social innovation policies in a way that was inclusive of the voices, needs, experiences, and competences of the diverse ecosystem that makes up social innovation, which is naturally context dependent, but that includes this plurality of voices and needs and experiences, with the objective to provide an overall framework and process for the co-design of policies that could support social innovation in a collaborative way. We began by by going through a literature review of social innovation development models. Following this review, we also complemented that by reviewing different EU projects that have worked on similar topics. For example, SIC, SIMPAC, SysCode, Social Up, as well as other prominent leaders in the social innovation space, for example, Nesta, the Young Foundation, etc. We collected and analyzed over 70 tools and methods, and we selected 36 according to the different stages and substages of the framework. The main criteria that we used to select the methods and tools were how effective they were in contributing and their usability, so how easy a managing authority or social innovator could use the tool without being an expert designer, let's say, and the availability of the material. So since we're not employing our own resources and coming up with all of the canvases for these tools, how much was already available and that we could use by referring to external resources. So the framework that we decided to go with, if my slides start to work, okay, there we go, is Bates' 3-stage process of social innovation. So as you can see, there are 3 stages: investigation, innovation, and implementation, and a series of sub-stages that go from defining the social challenge to devising a solution and then diffusing the innovation. We complemented this cycle with the stages also coming from the policymaking cycle in order to make it better fit with the needs of managing authorities and coming up with social innovation policies. To come up with this framework, which also has 3 stages: investigation, ideation, implementation, and a series of sub-stages. In the investigation phase, you'll see we are hoping to help guide managing authorities to define the problem, to map the different actors and needs and obstacles and constraints, but also drivers and opportunities that are in the challenge space. And then with that background information and context, to then ideate and generate different solutions or different policy options for the specific challenge, to then go on to implement these by prototyping first and then testing and amplifying the solution. As you can see, we put evaluation at the core of the model, and that's because we feel really want to stress that evaluation is a key element for all stages. It has to happen not just ex post, but also ex ante and in itinerary. So while the experimentation is happening, so we're trying to encourage to use social impact measurement as a strategic tool for planning also, and not just for evaluating afterwards. As I said, we had two different pathways. One was for the managing authority and the other one was for social innovators. So within the deliverable, which I would encourage you to read, you can see the definition of how the two different users can come and approach the framework, whether you're a managing authority and how you're going to be defining the problem based on from a more top-down policy perspective, or a social innovator who's taking it more from a bottom-up perspective and looking at the more particular context-based challenges. All of the tools and the framework are also available on Seeds Learning Repository, divided by the different phases. And I will just provide a very quick example of the different tools by stage. So in investigation, you can see the problem definition tool. And here it helps you, it would help the managing authority understand what's the particular problem, who is involved. So who are the different actors that are engaged and involved in this project, or the challenge and the social need. And what are the social or cultural factors that are shaping the problem? What is the evidence that demonstrates the significance of the problem? Can you think of the problem differently and try to reframe it? So here you can see it's kind of pulling information from different sources, from a context analysis, from a stakeholder mapping, and then is also asking them to reframe and think of that problem in a different way, all in one canvas, so in one picture. We also have a policy context tool, which is helping to kind of map what are the different policies that are existing, and then also to think about future policies that could assist and help shape the challenge, which is solutions, I guess. And then in ideation, we focus on, for example, personas. So who the user is, and what are the specific characteristics of the user, of the beneficiary, so we can really design meaningful services for the particular actors involved. The value proposition canvas, so here we're trying to really design services that are creating value for the user. And then a user journey, which is a classic service design tool where you map the journey of a user at different points of the service and try to design better services, better interactions at each of the different steps. So where the user would interact with the organization and how to improve that interaction and that experience. And implementation, we have the service blueprint, which builds off of the customer journey and really works to understand how the organization can improve its internal organization around that value proposition. And then in evaluation, here we have represented the theory of change, but there are other methods and tools available also in the deliverable and in the toolkit that is found on the learning repository. For our case study review, we're looking to find different features and aspects that could help inform the co-design of SEED's Competence Centers. And for that, we reviewed 55 different international cases and developed 3 long case studies and then 29 ID cards. And ID cards were basically just a generic card that helped create more of the document the meta-analysis that went into finding the different specificities of the cases. And we also developed two cases on policy labs to have a more in-depth and deeper study of innovation teams that are working with and within the public administration. And we conducted 2 interactive workshops to analyze and compare the different cases. For the international cases, the three main cases that we studied were SpaceCube, RAP, and Innovate UK. SpaceCube is it's a network of different co-working spaces, and we chose it because it had a very good distributed and inclusive innovation model, which is something that would be useful for seed. And it also focused on fostering and different pockets of innovation and inclusive also of the rural areas, which is something that is going to become more and more relevant. And also within its network of partners, SOMA is a particular organization that had a very advanced learning and training offer that could provide a lot of inspiration for seeds, capacity building programs, and learning offers in the future. RAP was an interesting case for seed because it provided an example of an organization that's working on a really solid challenge-based operation. So it works with climate mitigation, and it works also on a network mobilization of experts. So based on the particular demand and need, the organization then mobilizes the experts that are within the local network. So that way there's always an expert that has that contextualized knowledge base and local network of people to engage and deploy for the specific need. So this was also a really interesting model for seed in terms of having a distributed network of knowledge providers to deliver on set priorities through a series of products. The Innovate UK was an interesting example because it was purely public, so it's the National Innovation Agency for the UK. It also is focusing on a specific innovation, similar to seed. In this case, it's business-led innovation. It is also focusing on developing the ecosystem and to connect and strengthen initiatives, so acting as a lever for change for government and to align the innovation demands with government policy and framework. So working in very similar lines that SEED's Competence Centers will be doing in the future. So it also provided some interesting insight. We studied Lab X and Public Policy Lab New York as their two policy lab cases. Lab X is the innovation agency within AMA, the Administration Modernization Agency in Portugal and in Lisbon. And they started off as a small team of experts, and then slowly as they grew and became more well known throughout the different agencies, they became a more formal agency within, as I said, the Modernization Agency, and they work transversely on commissions. So they function similar to a private enterprise or a nonprofit in terms of working, always having to prove their business case and why they should be hired, I guess, in a certain way. But they are also paid in any case through public funding and public money on commission. And they focus on capacity building, transformation projects, and participation projects. Public Policy Lab New York was interesting because it was a not-for-profit organization, so presented a little bit of a different model. They too started off as a small team of experts, but as they have grown, now they have a permanent team that is working on the project. So it kind of moved away from that project by project, let's say, organization that we saw in RAP, but as now has like this permanent team. They also engage public sector officials in a learning by doing process, focusing on capacity building, and they're supported though by philanthropic donations and commissions. So it's a mix between public funding and private funding. After reviewing all of the cases, as I said, we did two co-design workshops to compare and analyze all of the different cases to come up with a series of considerations for the co-design sessions of the SEED's Competence Centers. We broke these into some broader categories. The first one is the main goals. And the first consideration is that the Competence Center should create a favorable institute institutional environment and ecosystem for social innovation development, and that they could provide technical support to governments and other actors of the ecosystem at different levels to design and implement social innovation policies. This should be facilitated by prototyping and piloting policies by leveraging a network of resources and expertise, and to work in a network to target a specific challenge, for example, urban, rural, inclusive social innovation or missions, and that CCs should also promote social innovation as a solution for unmet needs in communities. The second and next category, there we go, that we just analyze where's activities. So how could CCs integrate hybrid forms of diverse training activities? So to combine frontal lessons also with more innovative methods, for example, hackathons, jams, or even going towards gamification opportunities to really create unique training activities for the different users. In terms of consulting, competence centers could leverage research coming from academia, different industries, and think tanks to support public authorities in developing policies and strategic objectives. And they could also disseminate and should also disseminate and promote knowledge and research to support social innovation growth. So both to use and also disseminate the state of the art of research and knowledge in the area. In terms of measuring and impact evaluation, the Competence Center should engage all the actors in continuous evaluation and assessment. And so this is really to encourage the social innovations to start really doing rigorous evaluation and assessment to raise the bar in terms of quality. And the last set of considerations, once again, okay, here we are, is organizational structure. And competence centers should engage different networks of professionals and experts to include in their activities, and should also keep mind of the preferred engagement style of their user. So whether that is going to be virtual or physical engagement. So ideally provide two different ways or different ways and different touch points for this interaction. Competence centers can also structure themselves with a steering committee and a leadership team, and this could help ensure that there's a shared direction, but also that operational success. They could also support themselves financially through mixed means, so government and private support, and promote more agile forms of investment to support social innovation. And that's it of this of the deliverable. So thank you for your attention so far, and I really hope you enjoy it and you find it useful in your work. Thank you so much.